Today marks 700, first day of day lessons, day reflections. And today I was starting to think about good traits, bad traits, and I was thinking about what are those good traits and what are those bad traits. And for some reason, I end up being on one word that is assumptive. Assumptive is sometimes a good thing when you really have to do shortcuts, but it's a very, very bad majority of the time. And I was thinking that assumptive might be even bad habit, but if you do not include that assumptiveness right away, that means that it's not as bad because you're able to really have assumption and then you change that and you change that to something better. So that means that if you add to assumptive someone who responds to things, that means that you're able to really transform that bad trait into something good. But now it becomes terrible bad when you have assumption and then on top of it you start to be reactive. So you assume something and then you react according to that assumption. That's a terrible, terrible combination to have because the assumptions majority of the time is terrible. And you react on a terrible thing, on a terrible idea. And then that leads to a lot of mistakes. So I realized that there is combinations of traits that truly matters. Because as I said, if you're assumptive and responsive, that means while you respond to that assumption, you're able to reflect, you understand what truly matters, what is true, you verify information. But if you are reactive, then now you assume something and you're reacting according to that assumption, and that will lead to tremendous mistakes. So today I really want to speak about that, about combinations. I already shared the first combination, reactive plus assumptive, but I think there's so many combinations, and I never thought about that combinations. And in 1700 days, I never even thought about combinations of traits, and I truly believe it's such an important topic because when you combine two things, as I shared right now, reactive plus assumptive, it leads to tremendous mistakes. If is it just reactive or just assumptive, maybe it will be not as bad. So there are seven combinations that is worst things to have. Number two is insecure and defensive. Insecure and defensive. That means if it's insecure, but you're able to really hear what other people say, you're able to really transform that insecurity because you are listening to constructive feedback that insecurity could change. There's a chance that for insecurity could change. But now when we look into insecurity plus defensiveness, what happens? That means that when a person who really wants to support insecure person wants to really give a feedback, constructive feedback from the kind heart, that insecure person will defend himself to the death. I will not accept the criticism because they need to protect their ego, and their ego is extremely fragile. And a secure person will stay insecure because, and the first thing that if an insecure person wants to change, you need to ask yourself if I am defensive. Because if I'm defensive, that combination makes me stuck in this state, in this place. At the same time, if person is not insecure but defensive, still, even though that person could be in a better state, but defensiveness is really stopping the growth. But the worst combination when a ready person is insecure, when ready is afraid of everything, and then it's still defensiveness coming play. So it's a terrible combination to have. Number three is ambitious and undisciplined. This is already easy to understand. You are tremendously ambitious. You said, "Oh, I will achieve this one. I will achieve this one. I will achieve this one." But when you look into your daily actions, what daily action is telling? And daily action says that you don't follow any structure, any process, any system whatsoever. You are based your ambition on motivation alone. And that's the worst combination of all, being ambitious and undisciplined. That leads to massive disappointments. Because if you're not ambitious and not and you are not ambitious and not disciplined, that's all fine. You align your not ambition to not discipline. But now, when you're ambitious, you need to align with discipline, and when there is no discipline, that's the worst combination. Number four is intelligent plus lazy. Again, this is where it says potential. There is a massive potential. This person has a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge, a lot of understanding. But where the actions are, where the actions are, and people say like the knowledge is power. Knowledge is never power because you can be very intelligent, but if you're lazy, you will not be able to use that knowledge. Not able to use that information that you gathered, that wisdom that you gathered. So worst combination is intelligent plus lazy because that is wasted potential. That's why it's a worst combination because it's a wasted potential. Because we're able to say like this person is extremely intelligent, yeah, but like we're able to look into how his laziness barometer looks like from 1 to 10, how lazy they are, how disciplined they are, how they're able to really use their intelligence. Because that's why so many times when people who are extremely intelligent, I think that you need to have some laziness because they're able to really, if you have some laziness mind in your mind, but it's coming from different angles. So like, I don't want to work on this 8 hours. How I could be more smart that I could do in 6 hours and 5 hours, so I could save those 3 hours. But that is different kind of lazy. Not from the bottom one, but that I'm not even willing to do what's necessary to achieve the things that I want. Number five is emotional plus unregulated. This is the worst combination. You're extremely emotional, you feel all emotions, but you're not able to really control them whatsoever. You release those emotions all the time. You allow, most important, you allow your emotions to control your day-to-day actions. You allow your day-to-day emotions control your day-to-day actions. And this is a worst thing. You have a lot of emotions, and those emotions are not controlled, not regulated, and your day is based on them. That's one of the worst things that you potentially could have because if you really want to pursue some kind of vision, we need to learn to really do the things despite the emotion that we are feeling. Because the only people who really will achieve something great in life are the people who are able to do the things that they don't feel like doing. And if you are emotional plus unregulated, that is almost impossible to do. Because your actions is 99% of the time is done only based on what you feel. Number six is confident plus incompetent. Confident plus incompetent. And interesting that there are so many people who really very, very confident, but when you look at where that confidence coming from, is a lot of times just from pure ignorance. They don't understand anything, and because they don't understand anything, they are confident. Now, sometimes, to be honest, confident and incompetent people are succeeding in a big way. They're really succeeding because people are attracted to confidence because people who really do not have competence as well, they they don't understand that a person who is confident doesn't have competence to lead them. So shy and incompetent people could potentially follow confident and incompetent person. And I think that is sometimes great start is to really develop both of them at the same level, competence and competence. Because I think that one biggest thing is that when really leaders of the companies, leaders of the families, leaders of the nations are confident but incompetent, that leads to tremendous losses in everyone around us. And I think that every single person has a duty to develop their competence. They could right away understand that this person is confident but ignorant, incompetent, and will never follow this kind of leader. Because when a person is confident and competent, that's what we're supposed to follow. And again, we need to really, even if we don't have competencies enough, we really need to really sit down and really verify all information that the competent leader says, because we potentially could find that they're full of ignorance. That is a worst combination. Number seven, the last one, is that passive and resentful. Passive and resentful. Because when you're resentful, but when you really address that immediately, you're able to really fix something. But when you have passive and resentful, that stays for a long, long, long time. And I think that's passive and resentful is good, not good neither for you, neither the person who did send you that passive resentfulness. Because I think that's one of the worst things could be passive and resentful. Because our daily actions will be dictated or influenced by that resentful attitude. And that because of passive, no one is able to see it, not able to fix it, not able to address it. That is the worst thing for a person to really stay there. And I think that there's much, much more combinations. But I think that now when I think about traits, now, just from now, I start looking at, okay, so if we combine two traits, it could be the worst thing. Because one trait alone is not bad. But when you combine two traits with terrible things, then terrible things happen. And I think that, as I said at the beginning, that if you combine one terrible trait with something good, that could transform, as I said, that if you're assumptive, but at the same time you are very responsive, and that means that you respond to things right and react, that means that you could that assumptiveness might disappear altogether because you're able to reflect before you're acting on that assumption, before speaking about an assumption. And that's a beautiful thing. I think that when you, for example, resentful, but at the same time you are a person who is wise and able to really look how to fix that resentfulness. Because passive plus resentful means that you're not fixing it. So it means being able to have one trait is okay. But when you start to combine that negative trait with other negative trait, then the things worse happen. Today I was speaking about worst traits. Tomorrow I'll focus on the best traits. Because I think that when you combine, that's where the true success lies as well. Not one trait that really elevates you, but a combination of traits that elevates you above and beyond. So I hope you choose to win and see you tomorrow.